With me now is retired Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus. He's a former IDF spokesperson, senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
So first I wonder if we could discuss events last night. This seems an enormous intelligence victory for the Israeli military to have seen this planned Hezbollah attack in advance, and quite a sizable one, without revealing any classified information. Can you describe how Israel managed to see this one coming?
Yeah, it's a very big win on a tactical level for Israel to be able to penetrate Hezbollah on an intel level, to have eyes, ears and other sensors inside the mechanisms, inside the command and control, to have enough indicators of when Hezbollah is arming their missiles or rockets, and when they are preparing, what is the time, the specific hour that they're going to launch that attack. Judging by the results, the IDF had that intel, and not only did they have the intel, they also had the ability to act upon it in relevant time. And on the tactical level, this is a good achievement. I think that there's been important US input to it, so I wouldn't underestimate how important that input was. But at the end of the day, I think that as Israelis are going to sleep, Lebanese are going to sleep, tomorrow morning we may wake up to another day of Hezbollah firing rockets and drones at Israel, and Israelis forced out of their homes, which is not the kind of reality that is a good thing for the region, for Israel, and doesn't bring a good vibe of stability for the future.
Are you saying it's likely that the U.S. contributed to that intelligence penetration of Hezbollah?
Well, I think for me, it's difficult to assess a situation where that didn't happen, because the US and Israel are working together in the most intimate ways, cooperating, sharing intel, sharing assessments, and then preparing for different contingencies. And we've seen high-level US officials, military officials here on the ground. So I think 1 + 1 kind of makes 2, and in this case I think that maybe it's not convenient for political purposes, but at the end of the day there's good cooperation, which I think is super important. This cooperation prevented bloodshed in Israel, lots of bloodshed in Lebanon, and I think that everybody that had a part of it should be proud of themselves.
When you look at the combination of these strikes here to prevent that Hezbollah attack, and the response, a combined response of allies, Israel, US, and others, in April to shoot down the vast majority of the missiles and drones that Iran fired, do you believe that that combination has successfully deterred, for now, broader Iranian or Hezbollah attacks on Israel? In other words, blunted their efficacy?
I think you make a very good point. However, I look at it differently. I think that Iran have not yet retaliated against the killing of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, and Hezbollah tried now, but they didn't. One of the reasons, I'm not sure that the defensive part is really that's influencing Iranian decision making. I think it's much more about the offensive capabilities that both Iran and Hezbollah know that Israel possesses, and this is without any direct US or otherwise regional involvement. And I think that the Iranians are aware of the fact that if they again try what they did in mid-March to fire rockets and drones and missiles at Israel, they will be exposing themselves to a significant Israeli retaliation. My assessment is that is the reason that has been, keeping them at bay. However, it's also perhaps Iranian strategic wisdom, because Iran, for 20 or so years, they've been very disciplined at building this strategy of encircling Israel in a ring of fire of their proxy organizations. That ring of fire is there, and it wouldn't serve Iranian purposes to start injecting itself directly. What they want to do is to calm the situation, have their proxies around Israel continue bleeding Israel every cut every day, and not to get involved themselves. Israel should do exactly the opposite.
Let me ask you this, because there's a sense among American officials that they need to keep these hostage and ceasefire talks alive, not only to achieve objectives in Gaza, stop the fighting, the bloodshed, get some of the hostages home, but also to reduce the likelihood of a significant Iranian response. Do you believe that there needs to be an agreement in Gaza to prevent, in the most catastrophic terms, a larger war in the region?
What I believe is that we need to have our 109 Israeli hostages home. I believe that it should be at the very top of Israeli government priorities. I understand that we are dealing with a ruthless, soulless enemy. Reports coming out of Cairo, not yet confirmed, are negative, that Hamas has rejected the offer, but we'll have to wait for official statements. And at the end of the day, I see the linkage between ending the fighting, or at least putting a ceasefire on the fighting in Gaza, getting hostages back, and pumping more humanitarian aid and improving the situation for Palestinians in Gaza, and also allowing Israel to focus on what's going on up north and really focus on Hezbollah.
You believe that, but do you believe the Israeli Prime Minister sees that?
I do not know what he and his close advisors believe. I know that the entire defense establishment, the Chief of Staff, the Minister of Defense, the head of Mossad, head of Shabak, have all said and given this recommendation: let's do a deal now, because this will probably be the best chance of getting our hostages back. 42 days, and then, if needed, and probably we will need to, because Hamas isn't going away, we'll go right back at defeating Hamas and straightening things out.
Yeah. Well, the hostage family is certainly looking for that outcome. Jonathan Conricus, we appreciate you taking time this afternoon. Fred, back to you.